Welcome to The Secret Life of Mothers. My name is Maggie Gordon-Walker and I'm the founder of Mothers Uncovered. Join us as we explore and share the incredible hidden stories of mothers when life has thrown at them challenge. Discover how the skills we learn in matrescence, which means becoming a mother, can teach us about more than motherhood. They teach us about unconditional love, resilience and acceptance. I'm joined today by Eirinie Carson. Eirinie is an award-winning Black British writer and college dropout living in California. She writes about sexual taboos, death and dying, illegal substances, hauntings both real and imagined, and ancestral inheritance in a world desperate to sever the connections between what came before and what is to come. Her work has appeared in LitHub, the Notre Dame Review, the Los Angeles Review, the Unibrow, and many others. Her first work of fiction, the maternal gothic novel Bloodfire Baby, has been named one of the year's best debuts by Debutiful. Eirinie's first book, the memoir The Dead Are Gods, was critically acclaimed in Oprah Daily, The Washington Post, among others, and named one of the year's best books by Kirkus Reviews. Eirinie, welcome to The Secret Life
Hi,
of Mothers.
thank you for having me. What a treat.
It's a pleasure to be two women talking, as we said just when you joined. So, well, obviously, I've said you live in San Francisco, and this isn't the same area as you grew up. So, would you like to explain to us your passage to the States from the UK?
Yeah, I grew up in Southeast London in the borough of Lewisham, and when I was like 14, I moved to Scotland, which is where my family is from on that side. And so I've lived in both places, and then the minute that I got old enough, I fled back to London, as most teenagers are going to want to do. And I met my husband, my now husband. It was actually our wedding anniversary 2 days ago, and we met in
Congrats.
LA. Thank you. We met in LA, in a hotel, and the our rooms were next door to each other, and the balconies adjoined. And I went on my balcony, and he was on his balcony. And I said, "My name's Eirinie. You'll never remember that." And he said, "I'll remember." He didn't, but it's a very cute story.
I
Um,
was going to say it was sounding so Richard Curtis rom-com,
it
but even
was
then,
very Richard
you have
Curtis.
blips along the way, you know. So there you
You
go.
do. But we were long distance forever, and then he proposed, and I moved to be with him. So it's like an accidental kind of traditional road for two non-traditional people. Um, and yeah, and I've been here for 13 years, and I have two children that I'm raising here. Um, and yeah, I don't like to think of myself as American. I think of myself as British, and that's why I have this accent still, because I refuse to give it up.
Well, it's quite hard. What if you've reached, so you were 20, 21 when you came to America, I guess, something like that,
What
maybe a
a
bit older.
wonderful, wonderful thing to say. I was
Ah,
26. I was
okay.
26,
Yeah. So
38
an
now.
adult, basically. I think you only
Yeah,
really properly pick up an accent if you come. No, you think not?
no,
Unless you're putting it on.
no.
Okay.
I think I meet quite a lot of adult British people who move here and are like, there's something they just decide, I think. I think that's my
Yeah.
theory is you kind of decide like I'm okay with softening this. And I've never
Yes.
decided that. So here I
Yes.
am.
Yes. I think if you're young, you can't really help it. I think, yes, you say it's a
Yeah, yeah,
choice if
yeah.
you're older, for sure. So, what would we need to know about you to understand how you would describe yourself as a mother?
Mm. Well, I was raised by a single mum and with my little brother. And I feel like that shapes who I am as a mother quite a lot and what I value in my life. Um, I am lucky to have a partner that I love and respect and who is capable and just capable and willing, I think is important. And so I am able as a mother to also deeply care about my artistic practice, which is writing. And I think those two things live together. Like my motherhood and my creativity, um, they live alongside each other and they thrive alongside each other because of the partner I have and because of um, the privilege I have to structure my life the way I do. Like right now, I'm on a month-long writer's residency while my husband is with my children. Not everyone can do that. Um,
Mm.
so I think that's really important to who I am as a mother. And I do like to think of myself as a fun mum. Not in the terms of like there are no rules, but in the terms of you tell me you want to play this game and I'm going to play it with you. And yeah, I hope that's me.
Yeah, it's a nice thing to think about. I think what sort of mother are you? You know, it often gives
Mm,
people they pause and they're like, oh, because you're so busy doing, you don't often step back and think.
hmm
And I suppose asking your children, how do you see me? You'd get some interesting responses. Maybe you don't want to go there. I don't know.
Oh, definitely. We play this game where we make our kids we like do an impression of us. Like, what do we sound
Ah,
like this week? And
okay,
it's interesting to hear the things that they've like decided is kind of your mantra. Like, if you've asked them to tidy their room 50 times, then that's going to be the impression of you that week.
okay, gotcha.
And it's quite fun and quite sobering. You're like, oh God, how many times have I said that?
So yes, you said you had a single mum. You also told me
Mhm.
you're the eldest daughter of the eldest daughter, going back 8 generations. No one wanted to break the chain, did they? So
I know,
how
weird.
strongly do you feel that kind of lineage in your mothering and in your relationship with your mum, who is still around, isn't she? Although you don't see her so
Yeah.
much. Yeah.
I don't. We speak a lot. I think about it all the time. I think, especially when you become a mother, like it's impossible to not think about what came before, even if you are like, I'm going to make a clean slate of this and I'm going to do it so different than the people who came before me. You can't help but, I mean, sometimes I say things and I'm like, wow, that was fully my mum. I don't know where that came from. Um, and I think that's just you cannot separate yourself from it. And so the best you can do is kind of examine those tethers and choose the ones to carry forward and choose the ones that don't get taken forward, you know? And I am the eldest daughter of the eldest daughter, 8 times back. Each firstborn child was a girl, and I have a firstborn girl. And I'm just sort of, I tell everyone I'm still waiting for my powers because they've got to be coming. Like, what? I should be able to, control the weather or something with that kind of feminine power there. But nothing yet. I'll let you know. Thinking about the kind of generational lineage and how I view my relationship with my mother, I think contextualizing where our parents come from is actually quite useful, not in a
Mm.
kind of forgive and forget way, but more in a, oh, I understand, I see the fuller picture now. So I think knowing who my mother was, raised by and knowing who those people were raised by, it's like I think of like hands passing down something through the generations. And I think it is important to look at what you're being offered and decide what to take with you.
Mm. Yeah, no, definitely. And yeah, you don't parent in isolation of the world in which we find ourselves. So that
Absolutely.
you will be affected by now, as your mother would have been by when she was growing up. You know, these things have an impact. So your book, so this was Bloodfire Baby. I think you told me you began it as notes on your phone, often next to the cot where your daughter was in the night, probably crying, which is why you were sitting there.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the reasons behind this particular book, how it came to be?
Yeah, I was born out of my postpartum period with my second child, Sailor, who is now 5. It's quite fun to measure the life of a book by the size of your child. Um, and I had a really rough time. I mean, anyone who's had more than one child knows that kind of balance of um, you have a kid that needs your love and attention, and yet you are like so emotionally drained, so physically drained, if there were any kind of complications or physical um, results from childbirth or C-sections or anything like that, or even if you were adopted, there's so much that you are adjusting to. And so I just found myself kind of drowning. I had what I am certain is postpartum depression. And like many women, I didn't get it looked at because like many women, I was like, it's fine. I just have to just keep going. I just have to change another nappy. I have to wipe another bum. I have to make lunch for this other kid. I just have to keep, there's no time. And I think that was a really dangerous choice. And we've seen how stories like that can end. And I was lucky that mine didn't end that way. And I think what saved me was the ability to write and to jot down things that felt important and vital. Um, my first book, The Dead Are Gods, was written about the loss of my best friend and was also formed from my desire to just remember. And this was no different. I wanted to remember this very specific out of body feeling, the very specific feeling in my guts when I heard a baby cry from down the hall. And sometimes I heard a baby crying from down the hall and there was no baby crying. And
Right.
and just like what a kind of shifting sands you're on in that period, even with a partner who is able to like support you. And yeah, so Bloodfire Baby began that way. And in the book, my protagonist, Sophia, is also the eldest daughter. And in that book, I am also thinking about what we hand down. And Sophia is someone who's so desperate to sever what came before because it's traumatizing with the life she's living now. And so she's kind of building a house on I think about her as building a house on sand. It can't stand. It just can't. And
Mm.
you need a foundation, even if it's not the one you would have chosen. You need something.
Yeah.
And so the book begins with her as a postpartum mother, desperate, like many of my friends, to kind of keep it all together. And so I think it mirrored my life, but it also mirrored the life of many women I was postpartum with. And yeah, that's kind of where it began, and then it kind of bloomed from there. But those were the seeds.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think there that understanding and linking yourself to so many others. And I'm particularly caught by the imagined voice of the baby crying because yes, in the
Do you
bio,
remember
the
that?
hauntings
God.
both real and imagined. That's what it feels like. It kind of, I guess, when you're super tired,
Yeah.
I remember so clearly when my baby was, only a few days old, and I woke up in the night drenched in sweat because your body temperature is all over the place, isn't it, when you've been
Hmm.
pregnant? Convinced my baby was buried in the sheets of the bed and I was screaming and
Oh
trying to find the
God.
baby, and my partner at the door holding the baby said, well, we agreed I was going to be looking after him for a bit. I was like, I was,
Oh
I
my
could see the
God.
baby in the bed even though he wasn't there because my mind was like in that real fight or flight state. You
Yeah,
have
and
to.
you're on running on such limited sleep. I mean, it's
Mm,
easy to understand sleep deprivation as a torture method once you've experienced it because you
oh,
really
definitely.
are, it's just such a strange place. My husband,
Mm,
not that we care about him in terms of postpartum experience, but um, he, when we were postpartum with our first child, he went to get coffee and stood outside the coffee shop and threw his receipt away, drove home and realized he'd also thrown his wallet and his house keys away, which I was like, that's a really sloppy metaphor, babe. That's really like trying to get rid of this life. Get it gone. But and he went back and it was there because it was just like, buried under rubbish. But like,
yeah,
I just all of those weird things that you do and you don't realize you're like, God, why am I dressed like that? Where are my shoes?
yeah.
Um, I also think the crying baby thing, I don't know if you experience this, but my children are 9 and 5 now. And sometimes I hear not that a phantom baby, but I'll hear a baby in a supermarket or something, and I'll be like, oh, she needs me. And then I'm like, oh, no, she doesn't. It's not mine. But it's funny how you're like a sleeper agent. You've like been activated now. And now when I hear babies, I'm like, oh,
I don't think I have that now. Mine are older, but
that's
I
good
mean,
to know it
certainly I've
goes.
heard, mm,
It's
it
good to
go,
know that
well, who
it
knows?
goes away.
Certainly I have heard, I don't know if this is true, that if you've breastfed and a baby is crying distressed and its mother can't be found, your breast will fill with milk to be able to fill the baby. I don't know. I mean,
I've
I
heard
guess that's
that.
happened because people report it, but
Oh, I've had that happen for sure.
oh, really?
Like
Wow.
when I was freshly postpartum. But I think that's quite lovely too. It's kind of a reminder of the community aspects of mothering that is like just
Yeah.
in our DNA, you know?
Yes. So yes, back to horror. So
Mhm.
again, this is the Bloodfire Baby. You said you don't think of it as a horror book, but there are elements of horror in it. So is that included, the crying baby, or were there other aspects that appear? The kind of how is it constructed, your book?
Well, I think like the horror, I think if anyone is listening and they've been postpartum, they know the horror that I describe in the book. I think there's the horror of like, especially if it's your first child, which it is in this book for Sophia. Um, you have the horror of like not recognizing your life anymore, you know?
Mm,
And I was one of the first people to have babies in my friendship group. And so there's also, you're kind of watching your life continue and all your friends doing the same things that you always did, but you're over here in the dark with a screaming child. And yeah, I think that's that's horrific to watch that. And then there's the horror of your relationship as it twists into something else because it was always the two of you, and now there's this other person,
mm,
and you can't connect with your partner in the same way, and you probably don't want to. Um, and then there's the body horror of not recognizing this body that you've known your entire life, and suddenly it looks different, and maybe you have scars, and maybe you have stitches, and maybe breastfeeding is agonizing, and it's built in to the postpartum experience that we have created in Western society, where we are very isolated and alone and unchecked and unmothered. It's built in that we don't have, that it's going to be horrific. And so for me, this story had to be horror. It just made sense.
mm,
And I think for Sophia, in between this kind of like classic postpartum story is the story of her ancestral lineage going back to colonized Jamaica, where my dad is from. And that is to illustrate the context of Sophia as a mother and the universe of mothers that she's from, but refuses to
mm,
acknowledge. And I think there is kind of haunting happening with these ancestors. But again, I don't think of it as like a traditional haunting. But I have a friend who writes horror, and she's like, "There's so many different types of horror. It's still horror." And yeah, I don't know where I fit in with it, but I do know
mm.
the material that I'm plumbing is inherently horrific.
Yeah. I'm wondering if there's more of that emerging. I don't. You probably read or seen or both Night Bitch,
Hmm.
and that's
Hmm.
the kind of similar sort of territory of this, woman who metamorphosizes into something, a creature at night because of all of the indignities placed on her body during the
Yeah,
day and the assault on her senses and her mind and her idea and her artistic practice as well. So yeah, that resonated a lot, I think, with many people. And yeah, there's a
yeah,
lot that's kind of because we in a lot of cultures there is an embarrassment around the body. Women particularly hold huge amounts of shame and embarrassment around how they
Hmm.
look, the fact that you're allowed hair on your head, but not really anywhere else. And things
Yeah.
like there's a lot we kind of hide from each other and society tries to hide from us. And then it all, when you have a baby, all of that ripped off and there's the real
Yeah.
body.
Yeah. Couldn't I double dared anyone to tell me I couldn't breastfeed where I was breastfeeding? I was ready for a fight at any point. It never happened, but I was
No,
ready.
they probably sensed it. If they came near, thought, oh no, we've got a live one here.
Like, she's gonna fight me. Yeah, absolutely. And I think like we are so we are just so isolated in so many ways. It doesn't have to be that way, but I think we are. In America, where I gave birth, we you don't see a doctor for 6 weeks after you give birth. You leave the hospital and they leave you for 6 weeks. And I just think that's an insane thing to do. Knowing the mental state
Mm,
of my mental state with the support system and the money that I had to make sure that I was not slipping, and thinking about how many people go home and don't have that. 6 weeks is a
mm,
very long time to leave someone,
it is. Yeah.
and especially if you're new to it. And I think we've all heard there's a story here in the US. I'd love to remember the name of the mother where she killed her three children, and was experiencing chronic postpartum psychosis, and not to excuse what she did, but I'm like, why was she alone? Why was she
Mm.
so left alone? People should have seen those signs, and I just think that's such a crime.
Yes, yes, maternal rage again is
Mm.
something we, because mother's supposed to be sweet and light, no more than mildly exasperated. Anything beyond that.
Yeah, and in a charming way, ideally.
And yes, a charmer. Oh, and a kind of ditzy Meg Ryan. Oh, silly me! I've put the
Ex-
baby. I put the baby in the plot part. Silly me. So yes,
Exactly.
you are raising your daughters in the States, and you told me it cost about $12,000 to give
Yeah.
birth. You said you're thinking about the bill before the baby. So yeah, the experience of mothering in a culture that you didn't grow up in, and the whole birthing experience. How has that been for you, and what differences do you see compared to if you talk to family back in the UK or friends?
Well, cost is number one.
Mm,
I have a dear friend, a girl I grew up with, who's a midwife now in Scotland. And, we often talk about the NHS, and I'm aware of the holes and how it's underfunded, how chronically it's underfunded. And yet I'm also like, just the fact that there are midwives within the system, there aren't really here in America. There
mm,
were in the hospital that I gave birth in because I'm in California, which is a more liberal state. Um, but the notion of being saddled with debt as you embark upon arguably one of the hardest things you'll do in your adult life, take home a newborn and look after it, um, is bonkers to me. And um, I think that, and then there's obviously the fact that my family are in the UK and always will be. My mum has been like, I'm not moving to a country where I have to pay for healthcare at my grand age. So, which I really respect. But I think like not having that support system is
mm,
something that I really grieve. I'm not having any more babies, and it's kind of sad that I never got to have my babies in the place that I grew up in, surrounded by the people who raised me. And I think that's kind of a missed opportunity on my part. If I get to live this life again, I might change it up, the
mm.
next go around. But yeah, I think that's hard, and I think the culture shock is something I still deal with. I've been here 13 years, and I'm still like, what are these weird American things they keep talking about? Um, yeah, and I do think the town that I live in now is a small town. We lived in San Francisco for 7 years, and we moved just outside of it, to a little town called Petaluma, which is lovely. And there I have found like a really lovely community of neighbors and people who are invested in my family. And so I do feel very held. And I don't know. I don't know if I would have found that in London in quite the same way.
Mm.
So it's kind of swings and roundabouts. There are great things and terrible things. And I think, obviously America and its politics and its can I swear on this podcast?
Of course.
American is politics and its fuckeries, its endless fuckeries,
Yeah.
and ways that we suffer indignities as people who live here, is
Mm.
exhausting. And yet I do feel like glimmers of hope here, for change. I don't think it'll be
Okay.
easy, but I feel it. Um, yeah. So those are the main things that I think about raising children here. I will say when I go home to the UK, with my kids, which my family insists, like I can't go there alone anymore. They would be livid.
Right.
They want to see the babies. Um, but when I go home, my children are really into trying to do British accents. Like earnestly, they just want that. They want to sound like me. And so when we go back,
Can you
I
do
have
an
to.
impersonation of them trying to sound British, or is that too hard? I just would love to hear their
Oh God, I
attempt.
wish, I wish I could. I don't think I
It's
could
quite
do it
hard to
that
do.
badly. I don't
No.
think I could do it that bad. When we're there, like my daughter's like, am I doing it? And I'm
Is it
like,
is it the
oh
Dick Van
no,
Dyke
babe.
School of
It
British
is,
accents?
it is that.
All
They
right,
couldn't
we are in
say
South London.
exactly chimney sweeps and where
Yeah.
you're like, where did you learn that? They do say the word water the way I say it,
Okay.
which is quite fun. And before they went to school, they would say Z instead of Z. But
Okay.
the school system's kind of bullied it out of them now.
Yeah. Well, you'd also want to fit in.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
they
yeah.
did sound British, it would be all right. But if they don't, if they sound American, which they do, to then pronounce something differently sounds
Oh, yeah.
pretentious.
It does
Just
sound
like I only
pretentious,
realised the other
exactly.
day what I called chorizo should be pronounced chorizo, but I can't do it
Well,
properly, and I'll just sound pretentious
sure.
if I try and do it wrong. So I'll just
Totally.
say chorizo.
Yeah, yeah. I think chorizo is correct, personally. I don't think
That's
I
the
can
I think
pronounce it
that's
like
the
a Spanish
Italian, and it
person.
should be th. But anyone Spanish listen to this will be seething. So
Oh
anyway,
no, don't anger the Spaniards.
oh no, not after they've won the football and everything.
Yeah, for real.
So you said there's no midwives. Is that within the delivery or just in the lead up to birth? So
In
who's there in the? Is it
general,
just more doctors who birth your baby? Okay,
doctors and nurses, and
right.
I hired a doula,
Okay,
to be in the room with me, and she basically did the job of a midwife.
yeah,
And in California, they are, in some hospitals, they are trying out going back to midwifery.
yeah,
Because I mean, I had a doctor, an OBGYN, who I had had throughout my pregnancy, kind of checking progress and all of that stuff. And she was like, I might see you for your birth, but I don't know where I'll like what my schedule looks like, blah blah blah.
mm,
And that's sort of sad because it's like I don't want some rando. I want the
no,
person that I've talked to about my fears and who
yeah,
understands
yeah,
my anatomy and and so I had this doula, to just be in the room and be an advocate, and it was actually great.
yeah. Hmm.
Mostly I think her work was best like quantified at when she would micromanage my husband. She'd be like, you have about 30 minutes before this gets rough. If you need the bathroom, if you need coffee, now is the time. Be back
Yeah,
here
yeah.
and like kind of doing that
Doors
because
are
my
closing,
husband,
mate. That's it.
yeah, yeah. You're hungry? Do it now and
Yeah,
never
yeah. That's
complain ever
good.
again. Yeah. So that was nice. And there was a point where like I fell asleep and he's like, no, 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 I should stay awake. And she was like, it's okay for you to also
Yeah,
rest.
because other
Um,
people are, I'm here taking care of the sitch. I'll wake you up if the campfire's going
exact,
out.
exactly, exactly. And that's a great privilege to be able to afford that service. But I
Yeah.
am so thrilled I could. Like I really had a doula both times. And mostly, I mean, the American healthcare system is terrifying, and their mortality rate among mothers and birthing people goes up exponentially when you look at Black mothers.
Yes.
And so a lot of people are dying unnecessarily or not being taken seriously when they say this hurts more than it than
Mm,
it normally does, you know?
yeah.
And so I was really anxious to have an advocate in the room with me, and I did both times.
Yeah.
And nothing, I actually had very standard births.
Mm.
The second one was my favorite. When I'd given birth to my second child, I turned to my husband and I was like, I'd do that again. Like, it was so fun. And he was like, okay,
Okay.
whatever drugs she's on, take them off. Because
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's interesting what you say because whilst we have midwives there, the people you see during your pregnancy, you won't see during birth. And I wish, that it should be changed so you meet, say, three or four, a team of three or four, and you guarantee one of those at least will be with you through the birth. And
yeah.
again, the same a problem, sadly, here in the UK due to race. There's an organisation called the Motherhood Group that tracks that. I think
Mm.
there's something around five black and brown women are 5 times more likely to experience serious harm, and for exactly what you're saying, they're kind of perceived to be, just making a fuss or being difficult and all of this stuff.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
it taps
Yeah,
into a lot of things.
it's life threatening. Totally.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely another way, isn't there? And it would be nice to, I think women's health is chronically underfunded and
yeah.
under-researched just across the board. We have so many different Viagra pills, and what do we get? Weight loss pills. I'm like, no, no, no. I'd love to know, what's happening with endometriosis. How
Yeah.
can we cure it? How can we discover it? There's so many things that we just are letting slip through the cracks, and I'd love to see women's health become more of a priority.
Yeah, it's essential, isn't it? It's not just a nice to have. It's, we are half the population. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. And allegedly you want us to keep having babies, or they do in America.
yeah,
I'm like, well,
yes, same
give
here.
us
Birth rates plummeting. Oh, well, I wonder why. And with
yeah,
the hospitals in disarray. I don't know if you've heard of Donna
absolutely.
Ockenden, the Ockenden Review.
Mm.
It started
Oh,
in Nottingham.
wait.
Yeah, the failings of several more than 100, I think, families who were harmed, either the baby and or the mother. And after that, the review is investigating, I think, 13 other maternity trusts around the country, of which Sussex, where I'm based, is one of them. So, she's a badass, Donna. She's coming and she's
She's
pointing the finger.
coming. Oh, good on
So yeah,
you,
I mean,
Donna.
she's a
That's
lovely
amazing.
woman. She's not what you'd expect at all. But yeah, it's great because she's a midwife and she could see the harm that's been caused, and she's, doing
Yeah.
her best to stop it.
Yeah, I think
So
my
yeah,
dear
sorry,
friend
carry on.
who's a mid my dear friend who's a midwife was
Yeah.
when I was pregnant with my second one, and I was just like so frightened. It was like kind of during COVID I was pregnant, so least fun time to be pregnant.
Mm,
And one of the things she said to me that I'll never forget was I was kind of fretting about the birth and like how what it was going to look like, and she was like the only thing you need to worry about is do I feel safe? If you feel
yeah.
safest at home, you give birth at home. If you feel safest in the hospital, you give birth in the hospital. And those are the things that guide you, because she was like, I've seen hundreds of women give birth, and each time the ones that feel the safest are the ones that have the easiest births, because
Mm,
you relax in a certain way and you're in spaces
yeah.
where you feel like you can be held with complications. And yeah, I will never forget that, and I think that should just be the guiding premise for
Yeah.
maternal health.
Yes. So I like to think about post-traumatic growth as opposed to stress around motherhood. So, how you've learned and learnt things, how you've emerged, how your personality's developed. So, as you said earlier, you were among the first of your friends to have a baby. So, how has motherhood changed you and led to your work, your writing as well changing?
Um, hmm. I think it's sharpened me. I think things I'm bad at, like schedules and being on
Mm,
time, I have had to get good at, because
mm,
your children need it. And
yeah,
so I think in that way it's changed me. And I also think that I take myself more seriously than I did before. When Luca, my eldest, was a year old, I realized I'd been modeling my entire life, and that was kind of all I had. And I had this moment where I was like, I want to be able to offer her more than just this. And so I took a writing class, and that's the rest of it. And so I think it made me demand more of myself also. And I think that ties in with my artistic practice too. I think writing a book is kind of similar, and I'm being glib here, but similar to having a baby. I think it is a similar processes, and one day it will be in the world, much like your child will
Yes.
one day be in the world. And yeah, I think it's strengthened me, and I think the outlines of me are clearer. Like I feel more solid as a person than I did prior to having children. I don't think that children is the only path to feeling that way, but I do feel my children demanded something of me, and in my desire to meet it, I was like, oh, this is actually who I am. I'm more expansive and more solid than I thought I was. Um, yeah.
That's good, because I think I run these groups, Mothers Uncovered, for mums to help find, themselves, their identity, and so many struggle with that, and they say they feel less, and a sort of I'm just a mum narrative is very, very strong in them, because
Mm,
society does not value mothers and all that they are.
no.
So it's very easy just to diminish it and
Yeah.
downplay it and just think, oh, well, I'm just this, and I don't know, why haven't I managed to clean the kitchen as well as looking after my baby today on
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
1.5 hours broken sleep and all those nappies and all the screaming and all of that. It's just like, wow. And yet women think this. We carry on thinking it because society shows us pictures of mothers managing it all, still, and celebrities. Look how she's lost her baby weight in 3 weeks. Who
Mm,
cares?
yeah, who
Why
cares?
she
Really.
lost all that weight in 3 weeks? She wasn't feeding herself properly to be able to nurture her baby if she was on
Totally.
some extreme diet.
Totally. Yeah, I think, and you think about the way men are perceived as new parents. I think about
Mm,
when my husband would go out with our babies, how many people would stop him in the street and be like, it was so different in my day. And I'm like, God, you just walk around to applause all day long. Whereas when I'm out with the babies, I'm invisible. And if I'm out without the babies, people are like, where are your children? I'm like, "Oh, God, I don't know. I'm like, with the other fucking parent. What do you mean? You know that I have someone. I didn't just leave them. And I also am a
yeah,
person without, like, just trust that that I am a person existing without my children sometimes.
yeah. It is. It's an uphill battle, but this is why conversations like this and your book and all the other people working in the field helps. It helps raise awareness of the importance and the value of it. Um, yeah, go us.
Yeah, look at us. Yeah. There is I mean, there's a very toxic I think social media is a very toxic place for new mothers because you are presented with
Yeah,
so much perfection, and it's just not realistic, and like every baby is different, every mother is different.
mm,
You are dealt a set of cards and you work within those cards that you have, and
yeah,
that's the best we can do while we keep our children safe.
yes. Something's just popped into my mind, a memory of with my first baby. I don't know if you have this in the States. I was in early stages of labour, what they call early stages, in the hospital in a preliminary ward because there was no space in the delivery ward. And they handed me this kind of piece of wood with not 10 holes in it, 1 centimetre diameter, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, you're here, they said, pointing at the 2 centimetre one. This is how much you're dilated. So, like, why have you shown it? This isn't show and tell. Why? I know how big
What did they want you
this.
to, did you
I
have to
don't
check
know.
yourself? No.
No, exactly, because of course you can't bend that way. But it was just like, now's the point you're instructing me. This is like, well, I did I know I have to be this much dilated for a baby. I just I don't know why it
Yeah,
just came
let's.
back into my head. It was just
That's
mad.
so maddening. I would have been like, let's see if your head fits in one of these, shall we, Doctor? How
Anyway,
maddening.
so Luca's your first daughter, you said. She was born
Yeah.
in 2017.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
on the day before she came, if you were to write a letter to yourself with some advice, what would it be?
Oh, I think number one is you don't have to prove anything with this birth to anyone and do the things that make you feel safe. I think I labored for a long time with no pain relief because I thought that's what I was supposed to do. Um, and I wasn't dilating past a certain, I can't remember what the stage was, but I wasn't progressing, but I was working my ass off. And my doula was like, you aren't going to progress unless you can find a way to relax, and maybe that's drugs. And I was really resistant to it. And I wish I could have told Irini of pre-birth, like, it's okay to say, I can't keep doing this. It's okay to
Mm,
tap out. It's okay to say what I would love right now is some pain relief because I can't. And I think I had this narrative. I was living in San Francisco, which is a very liberal town. Therefore, all of the people who were pregnant that I met were like, we're going to have a no drugs birth in a pool
mm,
in our house. Um, and I was just like, that was never my, I respect women who choose that for themselves, but I never wanted that. And yet I convinced myself that was how I was supposed to do it. So
yeah,
I wish I'd let her know that it's all right because she really, there was a good 14 hours that we could have skipped. But,
yeah,
um, and I also think like, I didn't, and this is such a taboo thing to talk about, I think, still. I don't often have this conversation with people, but my love for Luca didn't hit the way I thought it was going to. And that scared me because I was like, oh shit, I'm not a natural mother if I can't
hmm
immediately love this baby.
yeah,
And I would also write in that letter that it's coming. It's
yeah,
coming because Luca's the best, 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 best thing. And I love her so deeply. And it was just, your body's playing catch up, your mind's playing catch up, and it's all
yeah.
right. I think I would have told myself to relax for sure.
Yes, yes, it is. You're right. I mean, I think I've seen quite a lot of first time mothers, and there is that sometimes they're still in that phase where they feel they don't yet love their child. And you can see that
Mm,
kind of haunted look in their eyes. They're thinking, oh my God, I'm an awful mother. But it takes time. It's going to be quicker for some than others, and it's going to change.
yeah.
With Luca, did you say you had so at least 14 hours labor? Uh, did it, did you manage to get her out vaginally with minimal intervention, or did there have to be more
Oh
intervention at the
yeah, no,
end?
I did it with minimal tears somehow.
Right.
But I did have an epidural, um, which I would have now just for fun.
Yeah.
They're the best fucking things in the world. Also, my anesthesiologist was the hottest man, Maggie, the hottest man in the world. And I'm there, big milky tits out,
Yeah.
wearing in
Sweating. Yeah. No makeup, all of
sweating.
that.
Just, I probably had vomited on myself. They had these like mesh underwear that they let you have. And I don't know why, because it's like, what are we? It's no modesty. And I've got to take these off at some point. Um, and I was disgusting. And he hovered in the doorway, like knocking timidly on the door. And I was like, come in, monstrously. Like, you bring me those drugs right now. Um, and yeah, and then things got far easier because I was able to sleep for like an hour, which I really needed to do because I've been working so hard. And
Yeah.
and then we had several more hours of labor, but it was in a way where I could do the things they tell you to do, which is, ride the wave and like lean into the contractions. And I couldn't do that before because I was just
Yeah.
like so tense.
Tense. Yes. Yes, I like you. There's the active birth centre, it's called, in North London, and I wanted as drug-free as possible. And then there was a point when I knew I needed an epidural because it'd been going on. It was my lower back that hurt so much. It wasn't even at the front. And I said to my partner, I said, I want an epidural. And he was like, they're primed for that. Oh, you're going to ask me that, and I've got to say no. And I said, I waited till there was no contractions, and I just steeled myself. I'm in sound mind. I need an epidural. Like, okay, fine. And yeah, like you, I had to sleep for an hour. To begin with, I was like, and they're like, the midwife said, maybe just get a little bit of shut eye until it's out like that. So yeah. And true, I mean, with the second, it was very fast, so I didn't need any, it was too fast to have anything at all. But yeah, that shattered that thing of just, what you should do.
Yeah,
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 it's a
it's
lot of,
so and
and
it's
so
so
many women again
specific.
come to us ashamed because they wanted a fairly natural birth. They end up with an emergency cesarean, which is obviously way worse than if it's a planned cesarean.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're carrying all that shame and the guilt of how they failed.
Yeah, and there is a
It's
sense that
not
you like
good.
missed out on something, like,
Mm,
oh, I really wanted to do it this way, but it's like you didn't miss anything. This is how the
no,
baby had to safely come into the world. And
yeah,
but I think it's quite hard to, especially when you're in postpartum, that's such a horrible little dark place. And it's very
yeah.
easy to kind of beat yourself up and be like, if I'd done it differently, would she be latching better? Would
Mm,
my would this pain in my back be gone? Just second guess yourself entirely.
yeah, yeah. So, like Desert Island Discs, which I'm sure you remember from your living in the
I
UK,
do.
I like to think of a woman's matrescence disc. So, a song she associates with motherhood, so either herself as a mother, motherhood in general, her own mother, just being with your kids. What would your matrescence disc be?
Can I pick two?
Oh, you can pick two.
Naughty. Okay, so when I was pregnant with both of my children, I would play a song. Sorry. I'd play a song to my stomach throughout my pregnancy every day. Every day with Luca, and then every other day with Sailor, because second time round. And Luca's song is by David Bowie, and it's Kooks. It's a song he wrote for his baby. And Sailor's song is Stevie Wonder As. And when they were external from my body, I could play that song when they were fussing in the car and it would just soothe
Ah,
them. It was
lovely.
miraculous. And we still play it now. They still ask to hear their songs. So
Ah,
those two are motherhood for me.
lovely. That's very nice.
What are
So you
yours?
read, oh, what are mine? Well, I think because yeah, the very first podcast was one of our trustees. She interviewed me. I picked Stronger, the Sugar Babes,
Ah, yes.
because I had that on. When I was at home still before we went to the hospital, I had it on repeat. And my partner was, "Oh, we're having that again." Yes, we're having it again. Absolutely, we're having it as many times as I want. Leave the room, put earplugs. I don't care because yeah, it was just for me. It was a kind of sign of yeah strength,
Yeah, yeah.
getting
Oh, that's
stronger.
beautiful.
Mm, yeah, they've got such beautiful voices, the Sugar
They
Babes. I
really
mean, I know
do.
they've changed, the lineup's
They
changed,
there's
but whichever it was
all
that
of
did
the
that,
sugar babes have had
yeah,
beautiful voices.
however many of them there are. So, Eirinie, how can listeners or watchers to this find you and your work? Would you want to share any platforms you're on? You don't have to. We
Yeah,
could just,
I have a
yeah,
website,
okay.
which is my name, EirinieCarson.com, EirinieCarson.com. And I'm on Instagram for my sins. And it's my name, Eirinie, with like three more E's at the end.
Yeah,
And those are mostly the places you can find me. And then in real life, at book events.
yes, lovely. Well, if they come to the UK, be sure to let me know.
I will.
Uh, Eirinie, it's been lovely talking to you. Thank you so
It's
much
been so
for
nice talking to
sharing
you
your
too.
story and our conversation.
Thank you for having me.